Laying the draw is one of the most basic Betfair strategies. It's the one everyone starts out with. It is as simple as you want it to be or as complex as you want it to be. Most people will start out with laying the draw and they will have their parameters set up. So, for instance, let's come down to Tottenham AC Milan here. If your parameters are set up so that you are happy with the 3.85 price, you'd come over here, you'd lay it, you'd put in your stake, and then you'd let it run. And as long as either Tottenham or AC Milan win this game, you're looking at a £10-ish profit. That is it in its simplest form. You have your predetermined odds, you go in at them, and you let that run. Some people say that over a long term, that will generate a profit. And if I load this up here, you can see I've been running a laying the draw strategy that is looked to capitalise on 3.2 to 3.5 odds, and it has placed a £10 stake on each of them matches. It has done 31 matches so far, and it has a very decent strike rate. It's got a 65% strike rate of coming in at a profit. And I'll load up the filter here so you can see. You can see we've had all these get matched. We've had some here with a profit. Some of the ones that haven't got anything on yet are because the match hasn't actually started yet. But if we go up to the profit and loss and if I change that to settled, you can see we've had a decent strike rate. 65% of the time we are laying the draw and it is working. We are getting that profit. We're getting that £10 profit. But you can see we're getting a range between £22.50, £22, £25 of a loss when the draw comes in. Now that's quite a few draws there to happen. And you can see we're actually minus £61.50 for these selections, for these 31 games. So it's not ideal. That is laying the draw in its simplest form. And so far for the past 24 hours, it has lost us a considerable amount of money. Now, don't get me wrong, when it comes to Betfair trading and any sort of trading, you need to look at the long term. The more data you have, the better. Who knows, we could have just had a really poor run at this. And I mean, last week I showed you guys the video with me backing under 2.5 goals after a goal had been scored and then cashing out. The first instance, all five of these I should say, made a loss. Then the next day, these two had made a profit. Then the next week, after 261 matches, we're looking at a £90 profit on this. It can really be just a swing and a miss sometimes, and it can vary from day to day. So I'm going to let this keep running, and we're going to see what happens. But we're also going to make some changes to this strategy. We're going to look at this and start to really add to laying the draw. Laying the draw works in different ways. So for example here, if we take a look at this game, that's 1-0, and it looks like it's 1-0 to the favourite, the odds on the draw will have changed here. So you can see before the match it was down at around 4.5. So if we laid the draw there, then a goal goes in and we cash out up here at about 12.50, we're going to be looking at a profit because the odds have drifted. And that's exactly what we want to happen in this market. So we could have left that trade there for a profit. But as you can see, as the game goes on, it's only 1-0. The odds start to come back in, and that will be less of a profit as it goes. The weird issue with laying the draw is, if the underdog takes the lead and you cash out, you will likely be cashing out at a loss. Just because of the fact that the draw then isn't unlikely, it's a more likely outcome because they still anticipate the favourite getting back into that game. So for me to incorporate that into a Betfair bot strategy, it's going to be a bit more complex. This laying the draw one is very simple. We're picking matches, we're placing it before the match starts and goes in play. We're looking for odds between 3.2 and 3.5. We're using £10 stakes and then we're just letting it run. It is incredibly simple as a strategy. But having it so it only cashes out after the favourite has took the lead is going to be a bit more complex. But it's going to be one that I'm going to implement, and I'm going to run that alongside this strategy for the next few days as well. And then when it comes to seeing the final result of this, we can see if a strategy where you're just letting it run, like this one, if that brings in more profit, or if it is better when you cash out after the favourite has won or took the lead I should say, or if it's better if you cash out if anyone takes the lead, even if you take that small loss on the underdog going ahead first. We're going to add in all these different laying the draw strategies onto this Betfair bot manager, and we'll see just how well that does over the weekend when there's loads of games to play. But I just wanted to show you here in the first instance that if you go and do the simplest form of Betfair strategy, sometimes it can go against you. But again, with a different set of data, this might not have happened and we might be looking at something completely different. But that's just how we're looking at the moment. But we'll come back in a few days and see where we're at. So as I just said, there is a huge variety of different ways you can interpret the laying the draw strategy. So what I've done is I've actually set it up over here. Now hopefully I'm going to blur out the profit/loss so we can come to that in just a second. But I just want to talk you through the strategies we've laid out at the moment. So we've got the laying the draw, that's just going to blanket lay the draw at 3.2 to 3.5 odds. It's going to keep things nice and neat. We've then got this one and this one, which are fairly similar, but they're only going to lay the draw at them odds if one of the teams is a favourite. So that basically means if one of the teams has odds of 1.0 up to 2.0. So it's only going to lay the draw if there is either a home favourite in the game or an away favourite in the game. What this is also going to do is it's going to cash out. So you can see it's either going to cash out. In fact, you probably won't be able to see this because I'll have it blurred. But essentially, all these items below this are going to cash out if it's either 0-0 at the 80th minute or if the favourite takes the lead. So in these two instances here, where we've got the home and the away favourite, it will cash out if the favourite takes the lead, because that is where you should see some profit. Now, I haven't yet tested this in real mode, and I haven't looked specifically in at any of these bets, so I don't know if the results are fully accurate, especially on the ones where we're hedging. But we can at least see from this one that we've had 200 plus matches in some instances on the laying the draw where we just let it do it at any price, up to 30.0 I believe, just so we didn't get any crazy thousands in when obviously they would never get matched. But we did it at any price, and I managed to get 510 results in. So we've got a huge amount of results here that we're going to be able to look at and see how in depth you actually need to go with laying the draw. So I'm just going to show you the results straight off the bat. So you can see here, if we laid the draw at any price for every single match over the past few days, we'd be minus nearly £2,000. So that hopefully highlights to you there that you do need some selection criteria when it comes to laying the draw, and you do need to manage the match as well. This is doing laying the draw at any price, and it's not cashing out. It's just laying the draw in every single game and letting it run. And you can see it did that on 510 games. It had a strike rate of 73%. But because of how often you lost big on that, you can see what happens here. I mean, if we go on to the bets over here and sort by profit and loss, you can see some of these we were losing 270, 210, 185, whereas the most we were ever winning was £10, because that's how the laying the draw works, especially when you're using a specific stake instead of using a certain liability instead. But you can see where that all goes a bit skew with there. You can see there where we've done the same thing, where we did the laying the draw at any price, but we then cashed out whenever the game was 0-0 at the 80 plus minutes. You can see that we actually lost more in that instance. That will be because there was some matches that were coming after the 80th minute where we would have actually got a goal, so we missed out on a few of them. It's not too much of a difference, you can see there, but again you can see we've got some huge losses coming in. Minus 270, minus 210, minus 185. So we are getting some huge losses there. And then again, the only ones in profit we're going to see are the £10, as you'll see. We'll see some other ones down here. These will be the ones that I've hedged. So overall, they'll have this and the minus, which will make it be a bit of less of a loss than what was on this any price up here. But you can see it didn't work out as well. Maybe we needed to adjust it and make it so it wasn't the 80th minute, it was the 60th minute or the 70th minute. We need to look into this, and obviously we can start, now that we've got Betfair Bot Manager, we can start really analysing this, and I'm going to spend a few days looking through the results on these sections, seeing where we had our biggest losses, how can we get rid of them, how can we focus on just getting the wins. It's something that's really beneficial about having a software like this. So for instance, if we look at the laying the draw 3.2 to 3.5, we can go through all the bets. We can look at when they settled. We can look at which had the biggest losses, which odds were they, which matches were they, which leagues were they. We can look at absolutely everything and then really start to fine down on the strategies. But you can see here on all the strategies, every single one of them made a loss. And they all made substantial losses. Yes, there was a lot of games, so it wasn't like they were just losing a lot on each match. They were just losing a lot over time. So it's highlighting the fact that there's work to be done on these. You can't just use a blanket laying the draw strategy, but I think everyone knows that. You need to look at your match selection, you need to look specifically at the odds, and you need to have your exit points. These have only got 2 exit points, the 0-0 at the 80th minute, which was probably harming some of these results, because they will have had goals go in after the 80th minute. And by then you may be looking at too much of a loss anyway, so it's worthwhile either maybe cashing out with the 60th minute or not at all. It's something, again, that we'll learn from the data by looking at what times the goals actually came. But we'll have a look at that and adjust the strategy and come back later with better laying the draw strategies. But you can see you do need to be careful with laying the draw. It's a simple strategy, it's easy to use and easy to understand, but you need to have your exit points in mind, you need to have your entry odds in mind, and you really need to be selective with it. You can't just lay the draw and expect to make some profit. But hopefully that shows that there. It's obviously some huge losses, which in a way is good, because we've learnt this by testing the strategy instead of by doing it ourselves. I'm going to switch it over into real mode once we fine tune it down a bit and start to see some profits come through. And when we get a strategy that's consistently hitting a profit after 200-300 matches of running, we'll run it in real mode at like a few pence and see how that goes over a few weeks, because obviously it's different between real mode and simulation mode. But while I'm still looking through and sifting through all these results, I'm going to leave it running. We're going to get some more games looked at. I'm going to leave it running pretty much every weekend for the next few weeks, along with all my other strategies that I've got going, and we'll get to really start to look at some nice strategies. But let me know down in the comments if you want a video on how to use Betfair Bot Manager. It was a bit overwhelming to me at the first, so if you want a tutorial on how to do that, I'll be more than happy to get that out there. And let me know what strategy you want to see on here as well, because it's quite nice and easy to get set up, and then we can look through and see some mass results and see how it ends up. But thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.